There is one number that separates the people who drown in debt from the people who get rich off it. And here's the strange part. It is not the size of the loan, and it is not the interest rate. Two people can take out the exact same loan at the exact same rate on the exact same day. One ends up buried, while the other ends up richer than when they started. The difference is the spread. Forget everything you have been told about debt. At its core, a loan is nothing more than renting money. You borrow a sum, pay a fee for the time you hold it, and give it back. That fee is the interest rate, the rent. So the only question that matters is whether that rented money earns more than the rent costs. If the money you borrowed earns 7% and the rent is 4%, you keep the 3% difference on money that was never yours. That gap is the spread, and it is the entire game. The rich use 6 primary ways to make money with debt by leveraging this concept. The first is trade credit, which is the oldest trick there is. Most product businesses run on it. Instead of buying inventory with your own cash, overseas factories and suppliers hand you product on terms like net 30, 60, or 90. They are lending you the product, acting as your bank. You sell the items to your customers before the bill is even due, pay the factory, and keep the difference. Since you put zero of your own dollars in, your leverage is infinite, and your return on cash is enormous. The second way is real estate, specifically the buy, renovate, rent, refinance strategy. You buy a property, fix it up, and its value rises. You then go back to the bank and refinance, pulling out a new, larger loan based on the new value. If you do the math correctly, you pull all your initial down payment and renovation cash back out while keeping the property. Your cash left in the deal drops to zero, giving you an infinite return as you recycle that capital into the next deal. The third method is what billionaires use to pay almost no income tax. Buy, borrow, die. They buy assets like stocks that go up in value. They never sell because selling triggers capital gains tax. Instead, they borrow against their portfolio using a securities-backed line of credit. They pay a low interest rate to avoid a high tax rate, using the borrowed cash to live. When they die, current tax laws allow their heirs to inherit the assets at a stepped-up basis, erasing the lifetime of capital gains tax completely. Fourth is understanding the mechanics of a portfolio loan. Banks lend you 50 to 95% of your portfolio's value. The spread stays positive as long as your assets outgrow the interest rate. However, this has a dark side called a margin call. If the market crashes and your collateral loses value, the lender can demand immediate cash or sell your assets at a loss. Fifth is 0% credit card arbitrage. This is a smaller-scale, highly accessible version of the trade credit float. You move high-interest debt, charging 24%, onto a card offering 0% interest for 18 to 21 months. Even with a 3% transfer fee, erasing a 24% rate gives you a massive guaranteed return. Sixth is optimizing the cost side of debt by maximizing your credit score. The rich don't use secret banks, they just access cheaper money because they make themselves cheap to lend to. Improving your score lowers the rent on every dollar you will ever borrow. Ultimately, debt is just rented money. If you can get the earning power of that money to outrun the cost of rent, debt stops owning you and becomes a tool that builds your wealth.